Direct from historic downtown Orange, California, it's time for the Bob Gurr Show. From undersea adventures to highways in the sky, he's done it all. And now, here's your host, the man, the myth, the Disney legend, Bob Gurr.
Hey kids, look who I've got today. One of my favorite interviews. I interviewed him first when we were just trying to get used to what would it be like if I was Charlie Rose and interviewing famous people. And I got a really famous person here. Guess is the only one that has come back for more.
Really?
Justin Scarrett, my friends. Look, Justin Scarrett over here sitting on the couch. Sir, would you untangle your arms?
I know, sorry.
And just use the pillow and just slouch.
Okay. So am I supposed to get comfortable?
Oh, now you're now
I'll get really comfortable.
This is brilliance on your part. Yes, okay. No, really. A good conversation, you know, in somebody's patio or something like that, or somebody's home, you know, away from all the commercialism and stuff. You should just slouch and have
just
good
relax.
fun. See, we're close enough that we can fist bump.
Yes.
Look at that, no strain at all. That's easy as pie. Anyway.
I'll pretend we're on your back porch.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, that well, the back porch is, that's like the utilitarian. The patio's better.
Yes.
Yeah, because, in fact, that reminds me that you'll have to come up to my house when the days start to get warm. I assembled a fire table. You know, my friend Ernie over here, he's the engineer on these shows, you know. He has fire tables in his backyard.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But I learned about fire tables. You know, you got a round fire, and then you got a round table, and this only gives you about 10 inches of table. Okay.
You gotta be careful where you put your
well,
phone.
it looks good. You know,
Yeah.
But, so I looked through Amazon, and I was looking probably 200 fire tables, and I came across a rectangular one. That wasn't very fancy, but it had a square fire pit with a glass all the way around it.
Okay.
So that way the fumes will go up a little bit before they hit you in the face. You know, compared to the regular ones.
Yeah.
And it has a flip-flop table. It opens like that, so you can close it, and it's a regular table. And this thing works beautiful. You can seat four people around it, and each one has a nice table. Entirely different. It's the kind that comes in a kit, you know, and you put it all together. It takes maybe
Well, leave it to you to put that much thought into.
Well, I was looking for a design that would be better than the ones that are beautiful.
Yeah.
And this was a lot cheaper. Anyway, you'll have to come up and see how beautiful it works.
I would love that.
I've got some little LED lamps that look like upside down champagne glasses. Really, you know, cool. Some little flower things like that. And as the light goes down and the little twinkly lights up in the patio go on, and you got this little fire, and you can adjust it very carefully.
I can't wait.
Oh, it's so neat. Anyway, I digress all the time, so that was a digress about what you should.
That's why we get along.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, you were my first interview.
That's right.
When this Bob Gurr show started. And if you recall, the way you start a show is you think it's going to work like this, and the minute you start moving, and no, it's going to work like that, and then you find out all the things we should have thought about in the first few minutes.
Yep.
And the idea was, well, you're supposed to do a walk-on show, because that's what they do.
Yeah.
No, Ernie was right. You have a couch. We're in a living room. You're supposed to just slouch away and be very, very comfortable.
Okay, well, that's what I'm doing. I'm slouching.
Right.
I'm comfortable.
Yeah. Okay, but
I'm
don't
relaxed.
But don't cross your legs, because men
Okay.
men do not look good when their legs are crossed.
All right, I'll keep them real wide.
Yeah, all right. Yes. All right. Anyway, a lot has happened in roughly a year, just under a year and a quarter
Yeah.
from the time we started. I think we've done probably 13, 14,
Is that all?
15 interviews.
Wow.
We've had some super people here, but you and I had to sort of try it out first to
Yeah.
find out would it work this way? Would it work that way? And then Ernie immediately picked up a lot of improvements, and then every one of them started moving along. And then it dawned on me that I have a lot of ums and pauses, and I have a hard time teleprompter.
Yeah.
So now, the reason I was suggesting this little shoot that we did over at Disneyland, a Topia ride, that was for the D23. That's the third segment of the Imagineering stories. First one was all about audio animatronics. The second was about music. And the third one was rides.
Okay.
So the nice thing is, this big crew, which I started to say, about 13 people, 2 big guys from Tennessee, everybody's really friendly. They treat everybody very nice. And finally, they got the lighting set. And we had Mark Mesco, who's now a senior engineer at Imagineering. Well, when I was there as a consultant, he was a young designer, just came in. And I hadn't seen him in years. So this was neat, talking to a guy I hadn't seen. And oh, he's got gray hair now. I mean, that's how long the time was. But it was a nice experience from the standpoint, usually these director chairs,
Yeah.
they're quite dangerous because they fold up.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they have the footrest will flip over backwards. This Disney supplied some chairs that were a little wider and didn't do any of that. So you could actually get back into the chair, and they said,
And
Bob,
just relax.
Yeah, Bob said, why don't you just snuggle in the corner? Oh, I got a corner of a director's chair I can snuggle into. So this is very nice. And then just as they were ready to go, they pulled out the clacker, and the clacker was getting ready to go, and I stopped and I said, just a minute, who's in charge here? I had been given no instruction on what are we going to do.
Right.
And the guy says, no, just don't look at the camera. All you're going to do is you and Mark are going to talk. That's all you're going to do. And now we're rolling, just like that. So that was about my second one where nobody told me a thing.
Yeah.
Because in January, a little earlier, we did one with Chris Merritt. And this time Disney did it themselves with a cart full of equipment they brought in. They put a great big rectangular light box hanging from the ceiling in my living room, moved all the furniture.
Jeez.
And they took 2 hours to light the scene. And then they said, okay, Bob, sit down in the chair. We're ready to go. And I said, what are we going to do? And the guy says, no, we're not asking any questions. What? They said, Chris Merritt's going to open his laptop and he's going to show you pictures you've never seen.
Oh.
Historic ones from early Disney.
Yeah.
Son of a gun, and they didn't tell me how long, what we're going to do. And it went by so fast. It was a half hour, one take. Just Chris and I talking, and he's got the laptop and I'm looking at the pictures. And I never saw the crew or the lights for the next half hour.
That's awesome. See,
Yeah.
that's better though.
Well, yeah, but
To get something natural.
yes, but those are 2 examples of where you're a big setup,
Yeah.
where basically you're not given any direction. But I'm used to the way Ernie likes to do stuff because we'll be out, we'll go to Disneyland and we got a little iPhone. And he'll say, Bob, let's go over and look at this. Or he says, Bob, we're going to go do something there. And I said, what do you want? And he says, well, how about this? And then he has a director. His camera's going, and instead of a clacker, the finger drops, and that means I'm supposed to start. He gives me only 6 seconds of head start. What are we doing? What am I saying? What are we going to talk about? I'm getting used to it.
Oh, I was gonna say you've been getting better at it because I've been watching all the little Instagram videos and stuff, and you're on the ball now. You've become a professional entertainer.
Well, it's very funny if you have a structured setup, any kind of a video program, with a bunch of people, a panel or whatever. The more structured it gets, the stiffer it gets for some reason. I've seen that with a lot of people. Because, years ago, I did a lot of stuff on Disney panels, the way Disney would do something. Right. We're behind a table or something, we're signing something, or we're all sitting on a couch full of soft furniture in which we can't even breathe. Your belly button comes up to your chin, and they always use a high camera angle. So this all good. Well, we solved that here at the Bob Gurr Show. This is all fun. You know, we're just crazy people and you know, talking on all kinds of subjects. You know, willy-nilly in all different directions.
That's the best part.
In our living room.
Yeah.
And little devil here,
We've got the devil. We've got a nice view.
Yeah. Well, see this one. If I get a little bit puzzled, I look at the Indian. He's never found what he's looking for. Look, he's going like this the whole time. And this little devil has got to look like, I know you're a Scorpio, Bob. I know your history. So we have these little jog points that, you know, spark, where are we going to go? And then, of course, on your hat,
Yeah.
you've got R for Robert Gurr.
Yeah. That's right.
Oh,
You're the only one that knew what that stood for.
Yeah, I know what the R for. The other one part, because it's got a little emblem on the side. Two little emblems.
Yeah.
Do you know what those emblems are today?
This for me, this is the little second start of the ride and straight on till morning.
But I know what that really means.
What does it mean?
If you go to the internet and you go on anything that's got Google on it and you ask a question, like a search question,
Yeah.
instantly the words will show up in a paragraph very quickly, but it has a little symbol in the top left.
I noticed that.
That's the Gemini of AI.
Really?
Did you know you are driven by AI
I did not know.
with a big one and a little one? Oh.
I'm artificial.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Well, I'm excited to be back.
Yeah,
I see there's lots of changes.
Okay. So,
I'm stoked, Bob.
this is your book when it looks like a book when it's published, but the only book you sent me was all on my laptop.
I know.
And I would read it from time to time, which is quite convenient because I don't have to turn pages. I don't have to break the back of the book to get into see what things look like. But it's a beautiful book, kids. This was called Tales from Randomland, Volume 1. Is there going to be a Volume 2?
I don't know. That's the mystery.
Ooh, oh, it's a mystery. Oh.
I thought maybe if I write my next book, it'll also be Volume 1, but have a different title.
Well,
We'll
this
just
is a
keep the
big
gag
book.
right.
Look at this. This says 272 pages, and I just picked it up and I looked. I just started to thumb through here, and I saw a title called "A Real Slap in the Face," and then I just happened to and I did it again. Page 188. I do have to share, kids. If you didn't see him on his program when he went to Paris, there's on the Champs-Élysées, which is kind of the main drag there, there's shops that have special kinds of candy and macaroons.
Oh, yeah.
You go in a macaroon shop with a camera, they throw you right out.
Yeah.
They're scared you're going to steal them anyway with your camera. But escargot, dead snails, is an extremely popular dish all around the world.
Yeah.
And I was watching Justin on this program, and because I learned to like escargot. Now, you usually start a nice little meal with escargot.
Yeah.
Number one, they're so small and they're kind of taste weird. You don't eat much of them.
Yeah.
So in other words, you start out not having to feel full right away. But they're very interesting. They're very interesting taste. And this was a long sequence. This must have been like 10 minutes. Is he going to eat them or is he not going to eat them? You kept getting. This is like a cat teasing a mouse.
Well, they were weird. I've never eaten something like that.
No. But I only found out a few minutes ago when I just happened to flip to page 188 and I started reading it. Yes, you ate them.
Oh, yeah.
And you've eaten them several times since. And you've learned more about them. And you know now that the classic little plate was 6 of them.
Yep.
You know, it's like a small metal wheel or something with little dinkles in it. And you put the meat down in there.
Well, the first time that I ever ate it, I didn't know they pop it back in the shell, and you have to have those tongs.
Yes.
And you've got to have a little fork, and you've got to extricate the snail. And then I didn't know that you're not supposed to chew them till they're gone. So I'm putting it in my mouth going, I didn't know you're supposed to kind of chew, swallow.
No.
So that's the secret.
No, it's like eating really good candy that kind of melts in your mouth.
Yeah.
You don't chew the daylights out of it. You
No.
just let it schmooze around, and it takes a little bit longer, and then you get all the subtle flavors as they change.
It's only gross if you think about it, is what I learned. Snails
Well,
are fine
no,
until you're thinking about it.
No, it's just, oh, this is good, and then just just ease into it. So escargot was a good one to get somebody to get started on how to, because we're scarfers. We go to we go to a fast food restaurant and it's just big bite scarf and we're gone.
Yeah.
You start with some escargot. You're going to take some time.
It takes time. You're forced to take time. The little
Right.
tongs, the little fork.
Yeah.
And everybody in France moves so slowly. And then even a hyperactive person like me starts to go, okay.
Well, yeah, you can pick up savoring something.
Yeah.
Rather than just eat to be full or.
I'm not good at savoring. I tend to rush through everything.
Well,
I'm very American in that way.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
But I've learned a lot about slowing down from you, actually.
Okay. Well, maybe one of these days when the weather would be nice in the patio and we got the fire table going there, and we'll go over some of the things that I've learned over a long period of time because. As you probably heard, you could probably tell, I had a rather bad reputation in the shops at Disney, which I didn't realize until maybe a dozen years ago. Somebody said, "Hey, Bob, you're a pussycat. What did you do?" And I said, "What do you mean, pussycat?" And they said, one person told me, he says, "Do you realize in the shop, if we didn't do it right and it's on time, we would do anything after that to avoid the Bob Gurr glare."
Really?
I did not realize that you can mistreat people and not know you're doing it because you're not even swearing at them.
Oh, yeah.
You just look at them. And I must have sent shivers down a few spines over that time. And then coming back, well, why am I a pussycat? Oh, I kind of got away from doing that. And then I begin to wonder, how did I do this?
Yeah.
I just got an email today from a famous Disney author reminding me about something I said to them a long time ago, and they never forgot it, but I'm not sure exactly what I said, so I'm going to invite them back. Well, let's take a little bit longer look, because the guy said something like, well, I was having a very, very tough time, with a divorce problem.
Yeah.
Which I know is very stressful for people. And I could see at the point, just the fact that if I'm calm and somebody's having a hard time, they will slow down.
Yeah.
Just slow down. And we didn't say anything or do anything. And then after a while, if you get kind of used to that, even you could do this. In other words, you could, when you get used to something, you would say, "Oh, I'm a regular Randomland. I'm the Randomland guy, and I'm always just, like an uncontrollable rabbit,
Yep.
And then you can hit periodically a little spot where you can go, you're very pensive and you're quiet. And
It's hard for me.
You listen to this. It's kind of hard to do, but you could probably work your way toward that.
I've been learning.
No, because you've already explained in this book, there's a lot of anguish in things. In fact, one of these things that impressed me a lot was before I knew you, and then once I understood who you were, I went on the internet and I saw a guy with a orange mohawk.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that you were in one of your lives, and I missed the first one. This was kind of a revelation. I often wondered, well, how did you get to where you got and then got away from that and were somebody else doing something else?
Yeah.
It was a very curious thing. But in the book, I had the electronic version of it, of course. And I looked through, kind of bounced around every place, and then I came to this spot where, you're on the road and you're in an unreliable vehicle and you're going from gig to gig to gig and hoping that before the bar closes, they give you enough cash to barely cover the gas to the next gig. And I began to see that, oh my God, you actually live something like that.
Yeah.
But you don't have to anymore. These have got to be big change points.
Yeah.
Is there more of these in the book?
It sort of came out accidentally too, because I just thought I'm gonna do an experiment and just write the most random, just whatever pops into my mind, sort of free association, and it ended up having that kind of thread of, which I didn't see till I was finished even. Like, oh, this is sort of the transformation point between, like you said, one life and another life. Kind of learning how to get out of a negative situation. Well, like kind of like you were talking about back in the day, when before you were a pussycat, that you could be grumpy, you could be mean, and I kind of had this point, kind of at the point of getting a divorce and everything else, where I realized, just from all the stress and the way I was living, and you have your first dream in life and it's not working and it's being crushed, and you stay there, you keep trying, and you just become sort of a negative person. You don't realize it, and then one day when the house falls in on you, you go, this is my opportunity. I can either keep doing what I'm doing and keep failing, or I can go, this is my chance to take stock, try to be self-aware, and I guess improve, try and change. I was headed in the wrong direction, and I thought, well, I have an opportunity to change things here. I'd like to be the person that when you walk in, the person that walks in the room and everyone goes, oh, great, that guy's here. It's going to be a fun time. I wasn't that person, and I thought I should be. I want to be that person, And so it's weird that it got accidentally captured in the book, these pieces.
Well, I did notice that a lot of times, let's say a professional author, they are consumed by the structure of language.
Yeah.
Because they're very aware their other author friends are going to critique them.
Yeah.
But this book was more or less like talking actual life. And you were scraping a bunch of words very quickly that got into all these pages that ignored the structure of book writing.
Yeah.
And this is almost like this was a confession without a confessional, sort of, in a way.
Kind of, yeah.
And that's why I found that I could look at the electronic version, have a few minutes, I'll read 1,500 words or something, anywhere in that book. And every one of them was some kind of little frustration or tragedy just working along.
Yeah.
But see, I had none of that knowledge that you were in that kind of a life.
Yeah.
Until in this past year. So now I want to ask you a question. How did you come across the word random that might apply to you?
Me?
Yes.
You mean like why did I name the show that kind of a thing?
Yeah, well, first you had the word random, and then you did something with it, and it probably meant something to you. Do you recall what that might have been?
No, not off the top of my head. I remember in English class in high school doing a paper, and as I do, and as both of us do, actually, whenever I'm talking, I sort of free association talk and things, and just things pop into my, it's the ADD, things pop into my brain. And I remember whatever the paper I was supposed to write ended up having all these references to other things, and I thought it was really creative. And the English teacher said, what is this? He said, you're supposed to write a paper about subject A, and you've got B, C, and how it connects to D. He goes, this isn't Randomland. And that stuck with me forever. So when it fast forward, I was the band guy. I'm the singer. I'm the songwriter. I'm supposed to be angsty. It's supposed to be punk. We're supposed to be angry and negative, no Iraq war and all this stuff. All grumpy. In fact, whenever we take band photos, people would say, don't smile. No one smile. Look, look tough, look cool. So when all that fell apart, I'm sitting there like, what am I? Who am I? What is it? What am I all about? What am I into? I'm into Disneyland, which was not very cool then. Not like today where there's all these Disney adults. I'm into literature. I'm into history. I'm into the Muppets. I'm into stupid humor, Monty Python. I'm like, is that anything? All these little pieces that are left of me, is that anything? And I thought, well, I could do a travel. I was messing around with YouTube anyways, just for fun, just as a distraction, keep myself occupied. Like you always say, boredom is impossible, right? I'm trying to just keep myself busy. And I thought, at first, I was like, well, I'll just do the Disneyland thing. I'll just do a few little shows on Disneyland. There's probably people who live far away who can't go there all the time. They don't see it all the time. And I wasn't finding the show that I wanted to see online. I thought, there's got to be I'll just do it myself then. I'll just make the thing I want to see. And at first I was like, oh, I'll call it Randomland. And then I thought, no, save that for a travel show or a thing about all the other weird things you're interested in. And I titled the show, the first episodes I uploaded, we'll call this Random Disneyland.
Oh.
And then I quickly was like, that's stupid. I'm just going to put it back to Randomland. And I thought, the longer time went on, the more I thought, what a perfect name. In fact, there's one of the ladies on my Patreon, she always calls me the random guy. And I go, that's pretty true. I feel like I have a lot of disparate elements of whatever this is. It's made up of a lot of weird pieces.
Yeah, in a way, what you're describing, that is the secret fuel that you run on.
Yeah.
Had you chose a career path, let's say, and organized yourself to gather what you need to do it, probably there'd be no Randomland.
No.
I sometimes see people that are, it's hard to kind of describe them. Some people are kind of structured and they kind of plan and things, and there's other people you can tell by their personalities, they just flip from one thing to another, and they do it with great ease and automatic. But there's other people, they do it because they have some kind of internal conflict, they're frightened to do something, but they do it in such a manner that they don't notice they're scared to death. And you never know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, on one hand, it'd be nice to see it calm down, but I know if you calm down, all the fuel would go away.
Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah.
I am sort of a perpetual motion machine.
Yeah. Okay.
If I calm down too much, it's hard to get me going again.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's a very good analogy.
Yeah.
Of valuing a life of chaos,
Yeah.
so to speak.
I just had to lean into it at some point and go
Yeah.
Learn how to harness that energy, whatever that is.
Yeah. Kids, how many of you followed this fellow here? I think he's got over 1,000 stories from all over the planet, in a way. And some of them are kind of, well, I won't give too much opinion, but others are a spark of genius. He'll be someplace that's very mundane, and you'd wonder, why would my parents ever take me there? And then you find out, because when Justin went there, oh my God, I wish my parents would take me there. Some of you know where the desert is, you know where Barstow is, and if you head to Las Vegas and Barstow, but don't go too far, you'll wind up in a Calico Canyon, and you'll wind up with some history that is utterly fascinating, and most of it is still there in its real state. And I remember you went up there and you stopped. Was it called the Calico Mine?
Calico Ghost Town. And...
Yeah, Calico Ghost Town kind of a thing, which in a way was a combination authentic and a bunch of hokey stuff added later.
Yeah.
Which, to me, was the essence of a random land.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a very entrancing thing. But that's an example. You got to take a look at that one. I do have to remind you there was another one, which is your other side.
I'm wondering which ones are the and which ones are the genius ones. Well, I can't tell the difference.
I don't have time to look them all up and grade you on everything, but there was another one that was a complete bounce back to something else. You were in a beautiful park, just a city park someplace, a little bit of rolling grass, a little bit of water and stuff, and there was a goose out there, and you were having a soliloquy with a goose. Do you remember that one? No. Yeah, I think you were in kind of a serious distress.
Oh, I kind of do remember.
Yes, and I thought...
Was I talking about therapy?
Sort of.
Okay.
Sort of therapy in a way, but the fact that you were not talking to a doctor, you had a soliloquy, kids, you have to look that word up, with a goose.
Yeah.
And I watched this. It went for like 20 minutes or so. You walked around, the goose was already there. And you were like talking to yourself, but you were really talking to something. But the goose would do to talk to the goose. But you were sort of describing where you were at and what's important, what's not, and what should we do next. And you were literally discussing some kind of a next step with a goose.
Yeah.
In a park. And I thought that came right out of the heart.
Yeah.
With no randomness at all. It was a very, very solid one. I forget exactly where in the 1,000 videos, but that would be worth going to try to dig that one up. So it's interesting that you didn't remember when I started to mention the goose in the park.
There's been a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I always wonder how you remember everything that you've done. You've got a great your mind's like a steel trap. You've got it all in there.
People ask me that, or they tell me that all the time.
You've got a great file system.
How do you do that? I think I do stuff because I don't think about it. There's stuff in here, and I know when I'm talking to people, a thought will come right up, just literally out of nowhere. In particular, people always ask you questions all the time.
Yeah.
You know, Q&A sessions of all.
Yeah. What did Walt
kinds.
smell like?
And somebody will ask a very obscure question going way, way back into early Disney history. And as I start to answer it, all of a sudden a flood of part numbers from Autopia. I can still just call up stuff that's totally unnecessary history. But like if I describe, I think recently Ernie and I did one over at the park where the little fire engine was there. We started to talk about the fire engine. And then I was trying to explain, oh, it's so easy to make a 1905 fire engine in 1958. Well, you know why? You can buy stuff and combine the function stuff, and then you build the framework that holds it all and put some cute body work on it, you got a fire engine. And then to be more specific, I said, well, yeah, we can get a radiator, and then we buy a little two-cylinder engine, a Hercules NXB, which was actually used for a water pump. And in those days, you'd combine it with a flywheel. It's because it's a two-cylinder putt-putt. You want a bigger flywheel. Well, they come in sizes like number 2, 3, and 4. And I could buy a number 4 flywheel which boats to the water, pump.
How do you remember that?
Well, I'm remembering it right now. And then you buy a number 4 flywheel housing, because that will mate up with standard transmissions, like with a Warner T9 taxi cab transmission that was popular in New York City, because the gears are always grinding around. So here's these big gearbox that will run a 12 horsepower engine with a big flywheel, and then you can combine that with a driveline parking brake using joints made by the Mechanics brand joints, go all the way with Spicer drive shaft, all the way to the differential, which is made by Spicer, but it was used on a World War II Jeep. I go down to Slauson Avenue and I buy one of those things, and it's the exact size, and we want to make wheels on it. Wood won't work. Well, we take a wooden wheel, chop it down, we make a casting, and we got aluminum wheels. And then we put the rims on it so we can buy a tire we can buy forever. And it's store-bought, and I didn't have to invent a thing.
And I don't remember where I parked.
Yeah, no, there's stuff that's it's just here.
But what's crazy about it is you've got it all in order and part by part and cataloged, and you've got that with personal memories.
Everything.
In fact, that's the other thing that we've got to talk about, your movie. Because we're only a month away, as we sit here now, from the premiere, the big red carpet premiere of the, what is it, Bob Gurr Living by Design.
We're gonna get off of Randomland and go to.
We're gonna get on to
Bob Gurr
Gurrland.
movie.
Yeah, because it ties in because.
Okay, I'll put the book away.
I was watching your film that you haven't seen. The Bob Gurr Living by Design documentary.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, you still haven't seen it. You're waiting for the premiere and spoilers, but I was watching it, and
Oh, don't tell me.
Well, I
yeah.
just want to say, like, there were so many childhood stories and so many amazing stories of going all the way back to during World War II and the lead up to you getting to Disney and stuff. And the recall that you have is amazing because you paint this picture that I feel like I'm there. I feel like whenever I talk to you, I feel like I know what LA felt like, 80 years ago and things like that, because your recall is so amazing. And it's not just, oh, I remember I went to this place. You remember what street it was on, how many lights you had to walk through to get to school and all this stuff. And I found it fascinating. But I was wondering how you feel about that now. That did that little boy ever think there'd be a Bob Gurr documentary?
Well, in truth, I had a number of people over the years saying, "Oh, Bob, we need to make a movie of your life." And then I think of oh God, I remember that one day there was like 100 videos on YouTube. Some of them really, just off the cuff kind of stuff, and it's stuff gathered with no format, no plan. People just said, "Oh, Bob, can I come over and take a video?" "Go, Bob, I see you over here. Can I go take a video?"
Yeah.
And a lot of unauthorized stuff. I see people still making unauthorized stuff about my life, and they never ask. I don't know who they are, and I can't track them down. But I thought, really, doing something like that? Some of it's accurate, some of it's not accurate. So against that kind of a background of stuff, when people would ask, "Would you like to do a movie?" I said, no, I'm not. There's just too much Bob all over
there's
the place.
enough Bob out
and
there.
And then, we're doing stuff live all the time. Why do we have to watch something on TV? And it was just my general reaction. But anyway, long story short, a fella had a good idea. He had his own kind of a dream of doing a Bob Gurr movie. And he asked me to take a look at some of his little movies.
Yeah.
And that broke the ice. I found that this guy could do a movie in 6 minutes that you never knew where it was going, but the Hitchcock point of the story, or the Rod Serling point, came in the last half second of the story. And I thought, oh, this guy can think. Maybe he can kind of go gather stuff I don't even know about.
What a great compliment, actually. This guy can think.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
One day he'll say it about me.
So anyway, on April 26th, we'll all be sitting in a nice theater, and where we'll see this premiere. Then when they, Ernie and Frank Richardson, the guy,
Frank Woodward.
Woodward, yeah. All the English names sound all the same. Something son, something whatever. Anyway, I was kind of intrigued to see, well, what did they see that I don't see?
Yeah.
About stuff. So I suppose
about your life.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly my life without full permission. Which I think maybe that was the point. If I try to answer somebody's question about, as you asked me, how do you remember this? How do you do that? I have a hard time trying to figure it out, but maybe it's somebody, not me, that could see the clue of why is this the way it is.
Yeah.
Because I know still today, wherever I go, there will be a family come up and thank me for designing stuff at Disney.
Right.
I say, oh, gee, if you had a good day on something I made a sketch of, yeah, that's very nice. Because they appreciate that. But I hope maybe one of these days I'll figure out how did I do that stuff.
Yeah.
But the only clue I think I'm getting over time is I'll watch a licensed engineer who's really brainy. He's been to all the schools. He's highly renowned. And he gets a lot of stuff done, but sometimes it's not necessarily earth-shaking.
Right.
Okay. And I think there's a weird blessing of not being too educated.
Yeah.
I used to give like a closing lecture to a graduating class at the local Chapman University nearby. And I was always interested in how the students, I could tell by their questions, they're very structured questions.
Yeah.
And it began to kind of dawn on me, oh, you don't suppose these kids had 4 years of training, and as they're getting ready to go out the door the next weekend, their minds are pretty much locked up.
Yeah.
Because it's full of everything that you've been taught. And I remember one day, a student was having a hard time trying to describe to me, what they see and what they thought I saw. And I just suddenly had this vision of a 4-year college, not all, but some, is like a water trough. It's a U-shaped water.
Yeah.
You pour the water in here, which is the students in the trough. And they go 4 years down this trough in slow motion, picking up all the information, but they are trapped in the water trough. They can't digress over one side or the other into something else for a bit. And you have the impression you start at A and you wind up at Z, ergo you are now guaranteed completely successful person. And I found out, from what I've seen in life, that's not the way it works. And that led to the conclusion that I think maybe because, well, yes, I had education in specifically the shaping of car bodies a long time ago, but the mechanical part, I was 100% free because I was never told it can't be done.
Yeah, you weren't trained as a mechanic or a
No.
mechanical engineer or anything like
No.
that. That just came by saying yes.
Yes. Oh, that's completely yes. In the simplest sense, you got a Walt Disney asking me to design a car body.
Yeah.
And then assuming there's the mechanical part of the pretty part of the car. Okay. And I just kept quiet, and with a little bit of help from Roger Brogan, my manager in the machine shop at Disney, they had a little mechanical chassis that needed a lot more work. And the guy that designed that was not going to go any further. So that meant, okay, Bobby, you get started on this and fix it while you're doing the body. So that was a by necessity thing just off the wall. There's no question that you can't do it. You're going to have to do it because Walt said you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And my boss, Roger, said, well, you're going to do it now.
And 5 years later, a monorail.
Yeah, within 5 years.
And on and on and on.
On and on and on. And it was always the same thing in which someone asked you to do something and you never said no.
That's the number one thing that I've learned about people who are really successful. They just, if they could possibly do it, they never said no.
Yeah.
Even if there was a little possible, I don't know, but I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, because I think in the same way that you and your gang of roving people in the desert with the old car trying to make a couple of bucks at a bar in the middle of the night, there's that spot. You've got to do something.
Yeah.
And that something meant you decided that means in the morning we're going to do something different.
Yeah. That was my trough, really, was that band. And, well, this is all there is. This is all that I'm cut out to do. This is all I'm capable of. And then realizing one day I'm in a...
That's right, the trough.
I'm going the way I didn't want to go.
Yeah. So anyway, in that kind of a setting, the die had already been cast. Robert, you are going to fix that little chassis in order to put the body on it. And that meant you can't back up. It's there, it's in front of you, and you're going to do it. But that led to a very curious thing. It evolved over a period of time. That works only if you're curious. If you're very, very curious about some area of expertise. I knew certain things, maybe 10% of what this car is going to have to do. And then all the other things that's going to have to go with it that gradually makes it the 100% details of the car is if you know 2 or 3 things, the other 4 or 5 are going to be connected to that.
Yeah.
And it's like let's say you got a great big chalk, like a board with checkered squares. And when it's all done, you see the checkered squares. But before you start, there's a lot of fuzz and only a couple of squares here and there, a few black and a few white ones. You are going to fill in like making a puzzle. You know, you're filling out the puzzle, and you put all the pieces into the puzzle's done. Now you got a car that works. And that's an analogy.
Yeah.
Trying to say that. Now when you go to do it in, let's say, a monorail size thing, you're just dealing with a way bigger checkerboard. And at the same time, you're dealing with mega millions of dollars, particularly the Florida train.
Yeah.
You know, the Mark I was a, you know, cute little red train, just get it done and get it so it runs, and then we improve it from there. You know, it's still a cute looking little thing, and that's a 1958 design. By the time you get to Florida, we have a big, complicated, long air-conditioned train, totally
That's Mark IV, right?
Oh, yeah, no, much greater, massive thing, but it's still the same thing.
Yeah, that's a legit mass transit system.
I got some of the squares filled in. Now I got to do, how do I fill the squares? Well, then all that proceeds is I want to know this about that. Who do I call? Or what number can I call? Or what can I look it up in a book or something? And you go out and you pick the pieces. And the more you pick the pieces, you know the sources of where you want to go to pick the pieces.
See, I find this fascinating. And you and I have talked about this a lot, just in private, about where does this come from? Is it nature? Is it nurture? How much is nature? How much is nurture? Curiosity, creativity. And what I really liked about your documentary, I know you haven't seen it, but it put together a picture. I cried because it put together a picture of Bob Gurr, my friend. I was telling you before we started filming this, I never put the pieces together. So I know you did these jobs, but I never kind of associate you in a fanboy way with, ooh, Bob built the monorail. I think of you as Bob, the sage philosopher who's lived a lot of different lives and has a lot of advice to give. And we talk about history and creativity and all this stuff. And when I watched that documentary, because you don't know how it's going to be. Is it going to be all pixie dust and fluff? And Bob built the monorail, and he knew Walt. It put together, it has that, but it put together a picture of Bob Gurr, my friend. And I was crying because when it was I got an insight.
Don't tell me too much.
Well, I got an insight into what made Bob Gurr the person, and a little bit of how you think. That's there. But at the end, I felt like I had a sense that other people would have a sense of Bob Gurr, my friend. And I thought, this will be around forever. And I was getting all emotional in there. But there was a lot of that peek behind the curtain at you pulling these disparate pieces of information into, and that's what creative people do. They pull from so many different sources. They're insatiably curious. And you have an interesting creative mind, because we're familiar with the way authors work, or painters. People talk a lot about how musicians work, or even filmmakers, how they put their worlds together. Not a lot of people talk about the creative side of engineering and problem solving, and that's what I find fascinating. Like, you've got a person who's doing what someone like me would normally think of as not boring, but the guy built the thing and now it works. Yeah, and you would think someone would be the guy there with the draft board and very much in the trough. Yeah. And you did all this creative problem solving that created all these things no one had ever done before. And people are always asking me about you and how does that work? And I've seen people ask you the question, how did you do that? What can I tell my kid to grow up and be able to do that? And it answers it a little bit.
Yeah, okay. Well, I get this all the time, going way, way back.
Yeah.
And I remember one day having to explain a Mark IV monorail train, because they could see in their mind, train, there's a bazillion parts. Where would you ever start? And I had an image in my mind at that point of the way automobiles used to be built and serviced. You go to an automobile parts store, or you go to an automobile dealer, and they would have these parts books. And they would be illustrated, like drawings with part numbers explaining stuff. And then I began to look closer at those books at a parts store, They're all uniform in one respect. If they look at an automobile, they will find a whole automobile is roughly 14,000 main parts. There's a lot more little rivets and nuts and bolts. About 14,000 parts, but they are broken into about 18 groups.
Okay.
Oh, I thought, oh, I know how to explain this to somebody. And I said something along the lines of, okay, Florida monorail. It's a Mark IV monorail. We got it built and it's running and we service and the people ride on it and everything. And it's pretty on the outside, but if you go in the barn and look at it underneath, oh my gosh, look at all the parts of every kind that are in this thing. So I thought, okay, I'll explain it. All right, I'll break down a whole monorail really quick. You have a monorail. Front car, rear car. If we're smart, the front and the rear are the same. Okay, answer number one. Then we have middle cars. Okay, the middle cars will be a basic car. A basic car with a special end is called an end car. Okay, right away we've got the main body and the curvy body. And a curvy one on the back end. And we put 6, 8, 9, 10 of those together. We have a train. That only took 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to concentrate only on the main car. The one that's all straight, no fancy ends. It's going to have a body containing people, and the body's going to sit on some kind of mechanical apparatus that's going to sit on a beamway. And when sitting on a beamway, it's like a car on a road. It's going to have rubber tires running on concrete. Only the road is about this wide, not 20 feet wide. Okay, we're going to have rubber tires. All right, we can pick and choose tires. They come in sizes. We don't have to invent them. Oh, now we have a wheel that will fit inside the tire. They come in standard sizes. Well, they have little bolts. You know, you can put lug nuts and bolt it onto something else. We haven't invented a thing. The thing that we bolted to is called an axle. Okay.
You have a superpower.
No, yeah, I'm just explaining.
I know.
In pieces.
But
okay.
that ability to break that down is a superpower that I don't have, that I am fascinated by.
It comes out of an old Ford Motor Company parts book. My gosh. It's an organized look at massive amount of stuff. I said 14,000 parts. Well, a monorail train's probably 114,000 parts. Okay. But you look at it, you reduce stuff
by category.
In category and chunks. Okay, now let's say we get down to where the wheel bolts to the drive. No, stay with it. Come to the drive. Now we got a big chunk of a thing called an axle. Well, they don't make monorail axles.
Right.
But if we go in a truck parts catalog, like a Rockwell standard catalog, big, heavy truck stuff, big axles are combined of certain parts all stuck together. Oh, well, why don't we look at the center section of an axle? Oh, now it's only about that big, and it'll do certain things. How about the end of it, where you bolt the wheel? We need a thing that looks like a front wheel drive in a car. You know, the axle's got to have a U-joint on it. Okay, a monorail needs the same. Oh, well, we can buy a thing that big called a wheel end. Well, normally you put brakes on it. We don't need the brakes. Well, we'll just cut off the parts we don't need, and we haven't invented it. And then we bolt that to some other pieces. Then we bolt it to a little drive line, and we connect it to an electric motor. And it's all store-bought with modifications. I haven't invented anything.
That's why your stuff still works.
Yes, yeah. Oh, no, the reason, you're completely correct. If you invent basic functioning stuff, for animals and birds and ships and monorails and everything, you go nuts trying to be a boy inventor to invent something from scratch. You've got to test it, make sure it's going to work. You got to tool up for it. Then you got to have sales after service and all that. Yeah. This wheel end, this big wheel end, has a big U-joint in it, and it's called a Rzepa joint, like a kind of a Polish thing.
Yeah.
All that was designed in 1938, and it's been running ever since. So we have the service history is complete.
Yeah. I was going to say, you don't have to worry about
You see, look,
Your brand new invented part failing.
I'm not inventing anything. I'm going through a world of parts and I'm combining as much as possible.
That's why I see you as a
Yeah.
creative problem solver.
Yeah,
Someone comes to Bob with a problem,
Yeah.
Bobby, as Walt would say. I wouldn't say. I'd say Mr. Gurr.
No,
And then you've got to figure out, how do I do a
The
monorail?
point I'm trying to say, you look at a massive thing that
Yeah.
doesn't exist.
A big,
even.
overwhelming project.
Yeah, chop it into groups, and then go in and look at each group, and then only by diving in maybe 2 levels,
Do you
you
think
will find a single piece that you got to worry
Do
about.
you think a lot of people that work in design and engineering think that way?
No.
That's what I was about to say.
Do you know?
I think that's your superpower.
I'll tell you why. Most engineers are very proud of their expertise. They have this license.
Yeah.
I am a licensed engineer.
So is it more linear thought then?
No, they want to author something.
Oh, they want to.
Oh, they want to author something to prove their expertise amongst their peers.
So they have an incentive to do something weird.
And it's personal to them that
Yeah.
they make something you
Yeah.
could have bought, but no, it's got to be their way. And they got
design,
They got an
their-
employer will pay for all that money and all that time to do something. And if it doesn't work well, there's the problem. But if you pick existing stuff that's already got a history, you're way ahead. You got a reliability already in the
Yeah.
majority of stuff. See, I've just described it like the fire engine. A 10-car monorail in Florida, all that stuff could be explained in the same time as explaining a little itty-bitty fire engine with the store-bought pieces in it.
Well, it's just weird because knowing you in person, I would almost say when you're a kid, it almost seems like you have the same kind of thing as me, the ADD, people might say, or the different attention, some of the behavior issues, as a kid, and discipline issues, and all that kind of stuff. And you're into very random things too. A little bit of history here, a little bit of this here and that here. But you've got this amazing superpower where you can apply these disparate.
It's not a superpower. It's the ability to see the chunks of a picture or a scene or a situation.
Yeah.
And organize those chunks.
It's like a painter breaking things down on a grid when he's copying something. And you're just good at that.
And I do that with my life.
I know.
Yes. It's automatic in that respect. I can handle situations that have nothing to do with design or vehicles or anything.
That's why I like talking to you.
Yeah. Okay. I can look at, I have to do something with time, something has to fit this, or something's got to take into account that, and some unknown stuff that's coming. How do I situate myself with all these things that to be ready for, but don't get upset about it?
I was just going to say,
okay.
my favorite thing we have ever talked about is anger. Because when I first met you, I was still kind of going through all hangover of divorce things and custody things. And I remember telling you, I'm trying so hard to be positive, but it's, what do you do with that anger? And you broke it down in this really analytical way that I have never forgotten.
See, chopping up a monorail and chopping up a little fire engine into its bits and pieces, a situation in life that's very distressing
Yeah.
can be organized and chopped down into its little parts. And then the parts are much smaller. They're much easier to deal with, knowing how they fit the bigger picture. You do this to be aware of all of that, so to speak. And that becomes the source of, I don't have to get upset about this, because I have a better, bigger picture of what we're in for.
I love that.
Yeah. And it becomes eventually natural to the way you would think.
And it works.
I see a lot of people that can do that because they can see that bigger picture and reduce the bits and pieces to where something, you get it down to where it's in your hand.
Yeah.
You can look at it, and then you can talk about it highly specific.
The anger thing, I remember you saying.
Because you know where it fits into the rest of the picture.
I remember you just boiling it down and boiling it down and boiling it down, and at the end you were like, it's a waste. It's a waste of energy. It's misapplied energy.
Yeah. Oh, Okay.
You're going to take all your energy and put it into what? Something you cannot change?
Okay, there's positive energy and negative energy. You really, really want to shift so that the energy you use goes into a positive direction. Because a negative one, so many things that happen to a person, they already happened. They're done, gone, buried. Why are you still anguishing and clinging to something that is dead, gone, and done? I mean, you have to get to that visualization. That's done. Don't you understand the word of done? Do you understand the word reality? We're looking at reality, and then we're looking at it either way. We're a response by screaming like reacting, screaming and reacting, but a response is, ooh, that's not so good. Let's see, what are we going to do about it? Now we're going to talk about positive energy and not going to, used to be the expression, crying over spilt milk.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
Well, why would you cry over spilt milk? Get a cat.
There it is right there. Get a cat.
Answer,
I like that. Get a cat.
Yeah. So, still today, I was just thinking the other day, I said, what could I do in my little home office, my home up on top of a hill, to guarantee that I won't get upset at the slightest thing. Remember, right now, we are in a weird political history situation. We're in a weird sort of Disney situation, number one, with movies that are kind of uncomfortable. They're coming out at the moment. We've got something in Walt Disney World with changing a river to a dune buggy race or something like that. And then it's like, maybe it's the management tells the engineers, this is what you should do, and they don't like it. I'm just finding out it might be the other way around. The Imagineers, who don't have a lot of background, the younger ones, are trying to say, we got a cool idea, and management's getting scared because they don't believe in it.
Good.
And I don't know where that goes. But see, I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know where the politics are going to go. What could I do in my daily life? I did something silly. On my Mac, I can go to Safari and open a screen, do my work that I got to do, communications and all kind of writing and stuff. But I opened a second screen. You can have two screens. Window. Window. Okay, the second window. Guess what I do?
Oh, my whole computer's full of 18 windows because I bad
brain.
I
only need two. Okay, okay. The second window, I find a nice 2-hour video of singing bowls.
Bowls?
Tibetan singing bowls. Kids, go look those up right now.
Singing bowls?
Singing bowls. They've been around for 4,000 years in Tibet.
Okay, this is one I don't know about.
The director of the movie over a year ago for a Christmas present gave me my own singing bowl on a little cushion. And it's got a...
Oh, B-O-W-L. I thought you meant B-U-L-L.
No,
I'm thinking of cows.
No, it's a singing bowl. Okay.
I was still on the spilt milk, I think.
No.
I had cow on the brain.
It's been around for thousands and thousands of years.
Okay, singing bowls. Oh, okay.
Yes, okay. The fact that I could put window number 2...
I told you, I'm dumb.
Turn the volume all the way down to nothing. You know, nothing plus 1 notch.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking about how to do this. How am I going to respond to that? How will we plan this? And in the meantime, my ears are barely hearing something that's a very calm, just sort of a presence of a sound. And it's not music, it's not bells, it's not clanging, it's not clashing. It's just sort of oozing its little sound. And when that's going on as sort of like background, you can handle stuff that might be distressing as long as the background gives you a feeling of stability. And
That's
it's a very subtle thing that costs you nothing. Just you got your little computer. You can do it with an iPhone.
This is what I love about your brain. You break down things that we think are complex, and everyone's talking about, oh, my anxiety and this, and I'm stressed, and da-da-da, and you have this great way of taking it and starting to break it down.
Exactly.
But what I love is that's what the kind of private conversations we always have. Yeah. And what I love about the documentary is that Bob Gurr is in that documentary. I think.
Okay.
And I love that.
All right. Okay. All right. Looks
There's,
like
there's plenty of Disney Bob Gurr in there.
Okay. Looks
but-
like what I've kind of observed, some of the sprinkling of the wisdoms, and you are sharing with me the bits and pieces of the proof of that, how
Yeah.
it was done. So this will be fascinating. Look forward to that movie. Say, it's a nice warm day out there. Why don't we go to Disneyland while it's still warm this afternoon? And let's go do something. You want to go do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Let's go
kids.
ride the Autopia.
Oh, yeah. We're going to go for an Utopia ride. You want to do it? Okay, kids, you heard it. We're going to stop talking right now on the couch here, and we're going to get in the car, and we're going to go to Disneyland. We're going to drive Utopia. Okay. Is that deal?
Deal.
Deal. Let's do it. Okay.
Is
Thank
that
you
it?
very much. Okay. Show's over, kids.
Do we have to say Bob Gurr Living by Design in theaters April 26th, the Alex Theater, thealex.com.
Yeah, the closer.
And then
yeah, all
hopefully
right.
it goes everywhere worldwide. Bob Gurr documentary
right.
taking over the world.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Where's the band? And now, legendary Disney Imagineer, Bob Gurr.
I do so many things. You got to remember, there's 250 basic jobs I did, and I never did anything over. How in the world would you tell somebody, what did you do?
I thought you were going to say, this is how I got started in aviation, here with the Wright brothers.
I am really fascinated with the idea of why do people do what they do? Why do they behave the way they do? Which part is their nature? What part was the nurture part or the absence of the nurture?